This is a living animal. It has pale fur, heavy shoulders, and a name borrowed from the Ice Age. It was introduced to the world as the first animal brought back from extinction. But it did not begin with a living direwolf cell. There was no frozen direwolf nucleus waiting to be restarted. It began with a blood cell from a modern grey wolf. Scientists made 20 targeted changes involving 14 genes. They put the edited nucleus into an egg cell, developed an embryo, and placed it in a surrogate dog. The ancient DNA was a reference. The living grey wolf supplied the cell. So what exactly came back? To answer that, we need to follow the animal in reverse, from white fur to embryo to edited cell to 2 pieces of ancient bone. The usable direwolf material came from a tooth roughly 13,000 years old and a skull more than 70,000 years old. That DNA was damaged and fragmented. It could be read, compared, and reconstructed statistically. It could not simply be dropped into an egg and switched on. So the team compared ancient direwolf sequences with the genome of the grey wolf, the living species chosen as its construction platform. They selected variants associated with traits they wanted the new animals to show: body size, skull shape, musculature, coat color, and hair length. According to Colossal, the company behind the project, the final animals carried 20 edits involving 14 genes. Independent reporting says the company described 15 of those edits as matches to sequences identified in direwolves. Some other changes used variants already found in living grey wolves to approximate the desired trait without introducing a harmful ancient variant. Then came the cloning step. The edited nucleus was transferred into an egg cell whose own nucleus had been removed. The resulting embryo was placed in a surrogate. In other words, CRISPR wrote the selected changes, but cloning built the animal from the edited cell. That is not fake. Multiplex editing followed by successful cloning is a serious technical achievement. It is also not the same process as recovering an extinct genome intact. The recipe was not add ancient wolf and stir. It was start with grey wolf, consult ancient DNA, make selected changes, then clone. The name makes this confusing because direwolf sounds like a dramatic model of ordinary wolf. Genetically, it was not. In 2021, researchers published genomes from 5 direwolf remains. Their analysis placed the direwolf lineage far from modern grey wolves, with a split from the ancestors of living wolf-like canids estimated at about 5.7 million years ago. They also found no evidence that direwolves exchanged genes with grey wolves or coyotes in North America, despite living alongside them. Later ancient genomes complicated the family tree, suggesting the direwolf itself carried ancestry from more than one ancient canid lineage. That result is still a preprint, and many of its authors are affiliated with Colossal. But both pictures agree on the important part. A direwolf was not merely a grey wolf wearing a heavier skull. Independent reporting estimates roughly 12 million DNA letter differences between the grey wolf and direwolf genomes. That does not mean 20 divided by 12 million gives us a scientific percentage of wolfness. Most genetic differences may have no obvious effect on appearance. A small number of well-chosen edits can produce a large visible change. But visible change is exactly what targeted editing is good at. It can make an animal look more like our reconstruction of a direwolf without recreating millions of years of ancestry, development, behavior, and interaction with an extinct environment. A convincing costume can change the silhouette. It cannot change the actor's grandparents. This is where the argument stops being purely genetic. There is no single definition of de-extinction that everyone accepts. One version means genetic restoration, recreate an organism as close as possible to the extinct lineage itself. A second means a phenotypic proxy, Build a living relative that carries selected features of the extinct animal. A third means an ecological proxy. Create or choose an organism that can restore a lost function in an ecosystem. Colossal uses the middle idea. Its position is that a species can be represented by a collection of key traits, and that restoring those traits can justify the direwolf name. The IUCN Canid specialist group disagrees. Its 2025 statement says the animals are genetically modified grey wolves, not restored direwolves, and not conservation proxies under its guiding principles. That disagreement matters because the label determines what the public thinks was achieved. If direwolf means an animal with selected direwolf-like traits, the claim becomes easier to defend. If it means the return of the extinct evolutionary lineage, the claim fails. And if it means restoring the animal's ecological role, 3 captive animals cannot demonstrate it. The prey, competitors, climate, learned behavior, and social world of the Pleistocene did not return with them. The habitat, rather inconsiderately, declined to be de-extincted. Rejecting the word resurrection does not make the experiment meaningless. The same tools could eventually help living species. Gene editing might remove a harmful mutation, restore a lost variant, or increase useful diversity in a dangerously small population. But might is doing important work there. Wildlife conservation is not only a genome problem. It also requires habitat, population size, reproduction, learned behavior, disease management, and years of monitoring. The Canid specialist group describes gene editing as potentially useful, but premature as a ready conservation solution. Creating a few edited animals demonstrates technical capacity. It does not by itself recover a species or repair an ecosystem. And we still do not have the complete public evidence needed to judge every design choice. Colossal has described the number and purpose of the edits, but independent reporting noted that the full edit list had not been released. So the scientifically honest answer must stay narrower than the headline. The team created living, cloned, gene-edited animals derived from grey wolves. Those animals carry selected variants intended to produce traits associated with direwolves. They may be useful as a test of genetic engineering and as a public argument about what a species is. They are not the ancient direwolf lineage stepping back into the present. So what came back? Not nothing, and not quite a direwolf. What came back was an old silhouette, reconstructed on a modern genome, inside a genuinely new animal. The engineering is real. The wolves are real. The resurrection depends on what you are willing to let that word mean. Stay silly.